go. Is it working? I've been talking for like 7 minutes. Thank you, Jeff, for telling me before the chapter started. I'm fine with it before the actual. I'm fine with it if it's before the chapter. Let me real quick. I was talking about in case you guys. I assume you guys couldn't be able to hear me. Basically, because I was talking about the death battle thing. Deku has a counter to Asta because he's just physical strength. Asta's anti-magic isn't going to come into play outside of its general buffs that it's going to give Asta. And obviously he's got like swordsmanship skills he can still do with it, but that anti-magic to magic thing isn't going to apply. But Asta has ki sensing, and the way that ki sensing works should pretty much directly counter Deku. Because on top of, again, ki sensing, Asta should outclass him in pretty much every category. He should be more durable, more combat experience. He's a much better fighter on the dime. Like, Deku's better for analysis, but Asta's better at on the moment thinking about, you know, what he needs to do for like adapting his opponent. Also, don't be mean to Sheldon. Sheldon's a good turtle. Yeah, it was mostly just me talking about what was going on with that. And then yeah, Death Battle's pretty ass. You can tell easily in a video they put out because you can, like, the easiest way is like find somebody, if you don't know whatever show they're talking about, find somebody who's just like a avid ongoer of that and just ask them a question and they'll probably be like, where the fuck did you hear that? And it'll just be like, yeah, Death Battle. And they're like, oh yeah, the Death Battle's retarded. Because for instance, I think it was like they called Natsu a bounty hunter, but it's like they do odd jobs and occasionally they go after people with a bounty, but like a bounty hunter specifically somebody who goes after people with bounties on their heads. Or was it something like that? Something weird? And they don't even mention multiple things about powers and abilities for characters that they clearly don't know too much about from shows that they don't really have seen. And obviously, like, Fairy Tail's not the first one, but like I had to go through a list, and we had to like look at death battles and like be like, yeah, this one wasn't so bad versus like this one was ass. The Power Rangers ones are awful too, because that's like I remember. And just real quick, I'll get to some of the comments again in a second. I remember there was one, I think it was the Gundam one. It was either the Gundam or it was the Voltron one. Where they mentioned that, like, the Voltron, I don't know what the little lion robots are called, in their, like, base form, they can travel at, like, light speed. That's super slow for Power Rangers. Like, they have, like, massively absurd faster than light speeds as, like, a baseline. Like, it's one of the most consistent things in the entire series is, like, light speed attacks are super slow. Like, there's obviously, you know, they're going to be the stuff where it's like a character is like jogging down the sidewalk and they don't catch him for whatever fucking reason. But it's like whenever they actually do like feat stuff and like actually do stuff with like crazy weapons and laser beams, it's like characters are always dodging lasers like it's no problem. But it's just like stuff with that, with like Death Battle, you can tell when they don't put in the effort and they probably just looked up some wiki pages and pretty much went from there. Deku has Danger Sense, but Danger Sense is not nearly as good as Ki Sensing. It doesn't have nearly as much detail on how it works. It just seems to be like, oh yes, it's like a Nerf Spider Sense. It is a Nerf Spider Sense. It's still neat, but I don't imagine it's going to be as useful as like Ki Sensing, where you can like tell the contraction of muscles and the energy coming off of somebody's body when they're about to move and do certain things. It's almost low level of precognition. It's like right on the cusp of being borderline precognition. Not fully, but it's like if there was like a beta or like a demo for having precognition. It's like, here you go, Danger Sense. Because like it's similar with Spider Sense, but Spider Sense is way better. Like, Spider Sense always has been like super clutch repeater. In here plays DayZ. I haven't played it. My brother played it. There was a zombie game coming out, Blight, I think. I only watched like a minute clip of it. But it's like a medieval style zombie survival game, which kind of sounds cool. So I'll definitely check back on it and see if it's good or not. We got about 7 minutes until the chapter. Real quick, I will talk about my hopes and predictions for the chapter. I didn't do a chapter prediction video this week because it was like there was very little to nothing that I could have went off of. Because it's just like set up for a Selene flashback, which could mean relatively anything. Deku's best quirks are Fajin and Gear Shift. Danger Sense, Smokescreen are inconsistent. Well, it's like Danger Sense. I can't remember the full thing about Danger Sense. It's like Danger Sense, there are ways for it not to work, but I think it depends on like the person attacking him or something. And then Fajin is just like a charge power, right? I don't think it's the same thing. Like Fajin, from my knowledge, it is just like a charge buff to any of the other powers. It is a support ability. Whereas, what is it? His smoke screen is just a smoke screen. It's nothing special. Float won't mean anything because Demon Slayer allows Asta to fly even without his forms. I will assume that Asta will get flight in this because Asta can fly because of how anti-magic interacts with magic and how it seeks it out. So it's like it is essentially honing into it. So he's able to kind of like, I assume that the way that if you thought about it, it's like magic is everywhere. The anti-magic has to eat the magic, you know, and eat quotes. So it's essentially following it like it's Pac-Maning magic, essentially. That's how pretty much I think about it. It's set on a trail. You couldn't see it, but it'd be essentially like Austin's riding Pac-Man, and instead of instead of the little balls Pac-Man's after, it's magic essentially that it's consuming. I think Diablos and the Fairy Tail reacted not to being the demon E&D. I don't think so. I think it'd be one of those more of like, oh shit things where you're more shocked because of it is just a, it's just something you would expect versus a knowledge of E&D, because I doubt they know who E&D is. And then, yeah, like I said, my expectations for this chapter. I'm fully expecting it to be flashback chapter. Any like positive stuff beyond that, like say a quick scene at Gold Owl, like maybe we see the Signario sisters like at the last page and a silhouette or like a half tease of either Viernes or their guildmaster. Or maybe we get something with Eleftheria. Eleftheria showing more of his susness that everybody's been, I know it's not everybody, but I know a large quantity of people, myself included, have been suspicious of Eleftheria for a long while. So maybe that'll happen. But when it comes to Celine's backstory, my hopes, primarily, I would love to see her children. I would love to see at least one of them. We don't need to see Kurnugi because I don't mind if we have to wait until a Suzaku flashback to see Kurnugi, similar to what happened with Alexion and Kirin. But I would like to at least see one of them, and I'm hoping, and this is something just fingers crossed. I'm hoping at some point Irene and Celine had an interaction in the past. I would actually really like it if, obviously they have a meetup in the future, but I would really like it if there was just maybe like one point where Celine and Irene, both as dragons, crossed paths, maybe for a brief moment. Can you comment on the name of the app where you read the chapter from? It's Manga Poke. It's the Japanese one. It's just like short for pocket or pocket manga. And the chapters are like 70 cents. If you join my Discord, I can give it to you. In this episode of Bleach, I had seen where Yobak talks about Aizen and says that he's infused with the Hogyoku and it would take too long to kill him. Oh, yeah, but he's pretty much immortal now. He's like a low level of immortal. I wonder who's the husband of Celine. I doubt Celine had a husband, at least from what we understand with dragons. They have a season, they meet up, they breed, and then the males leave, and the females either, I would assume, look for another mate if they aren't pregnant, or if they get pregnant and are able to lay some eggs, then they just stay with the eggs. And we got 3 minutes of the chapters out real quick. I'd really appreciate everybody who's here. We got 17 people here, 2 likes. If you guys can thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe button. Subscribe if you haven't. Join if you haven't. I try to do these rather, every chapter release. I have a Discord for it, and if it's easier for you, either if you want to try and get the app, or if you just want to come to my streams, like I said, they're free. I do have a join button. The 2 tiers, they're pretty cheap. The lowest one's only $1. It comes with some extra emotes and some badges. I do gotta add some more. I've been meaning to. The problem I have with that is one, the annoying, I wish it just automatically converted the files that they put in there to the right size, because I feel like YouTube has the budget and the technology to do that really easily, but they don't. And then the other thing is that I just want to find ones that fit and are cool. They're cool enough in there. There's an Ichigo one I really wanted to put in there that I got to put on there. Maybe I'll put a Celine one on there. But there's a couple in there that I still really would like to do. And I know I've been slacking, but I'm trying to get back to it. either way, I'd really appreciate, anybody who hasn't, if you are interested, if you feel like maybe, if my entertainment is enough for $1 a month, I would appreciate it. If not, like I said, it's all based off donations, and if anybody, if people don't want to, they don't have to. It's not a big deal. In the manga, Yubak wasn't able to kill him. The scene implies that Yubak pre-Soul King could kill Aizen. Well, I mean, I don't know what he would even do, because like post getting all the Almighty, maybe, but it's like it's hard to say when it comes to Aizen, because the Hokyoku is like an extra thing. It exists, it is an outside creation versus like the Almighty and like the Zero Division, the Soul King, all the stuff that has obviously big stuff in the larger long scale lore versus like the Hokyoku, which is something that only existed recently in the story. It's like how Ziggy was. It's like once I found out like where Ziggy's origins were, it's like he couldn't have been as large in the story as I thought because of where his origin point is. He couldn't have existed, like he couldn't have been, oh yeah, he secretly, like imagine this real quick, before I saw the chapter. It's like you have the Heavenly Knights of the Dancing Sakura. Oh, it's like, oh, what if Ziggy was actually the main villain they fought against, whatever, millennia ago in the Dark Age, which is something we still haven't gotten actually, needs, which is so weird. Anything about the Dark Age. But imagine it's like that, but it's like, oh, no, because where we know he spawned up in the timeline and where he came back to, he couldn't have been that old. But anyway, I'm going to start the chapter. I'm going to pull it up right now, and we're going to start getting into the content, see exactly what's happening, see what's going on in this one. Now, so you can use fire underwater. I'm pretty sure the reason that, not, like, the logic behind that, because his fire obviously can completely get rid of water. Like, his Fire Dragon King Demolition Fist, not even directly on contact of lakes, oh god, I can't remember his name, Gloria, the lake right next to the guild, for Fairy Tail. It evaporated it. But I imagine that he can't, like, if his fist is completely wet, it's like lighting a wet match. It's just one of those difficulty things. And my belief is that Natsu is going to do something more with his heat in general, but like his internal heat. Because, like, imagine he heats up the inside of his body where, it's not hindered by, the idea of, like, some smothered ocean. And it's like you heat up to where you essentially evaporate like a little air bubble around you, and then bam. Or at least around your fist enough to get your stuff ignited. Right, I'm going to pull up the chapter. And we'll see what's going to go on with Selene this week. I am excited. Obviously, as a big Selene fan, I'm ecstatic anytime we get Selene content, so I'm going to be pretty hyped just to see whatever she pretty much shows up to the table with. And I'm also super stoked. Mishima said 121 was supposed to be a good, a hype chapter, and he mentioned Urza, so I'm wondering if that's going to be, like, maybe the connection between Irene and Selene, or is it going to be Urza does something in the next chapter that, like, is just going to be really nice for it. I don't know. But Urza's on the cover, nice Urza cover, and like Lucy's falling over in the background. It looks like she's like tripping on a runway. We get a flashback. It looks like Magidragon back when they were at a higher point. We have Eleftheria talking to people in his guild, probably setting up the 100 Years quest. I'm guessing by the way that he's it's set up, he's like trying to talk to them, but I'm guessing a lot of people in the guild probably either died from it. Ooh, there is a dragon. This is a cool looking one. What dragon is this? There's like I wonder if this is just like a generic dragon, or this was the law dragon maybe, because it's like Eleftherius is still really vague. He self-learned it, but it's like did he like find a dragon that has specifically had a kind for it? Did he read it of a book? His is still like very vague, but like that's cool. I just like seeing a dragon in general, because I'm guessing that like. My guess is like, oh yeah, we're gonna go after the dragon gods, but maybe just starting to like go after a dragon, they got fucked, and they couldn't do it at that point. Because I think that would make sense. Like they're like, yeah, let's go after these guys and get rid of them, and it's like they actually go and try and fight a dragon, and then get completely decimated. I think that's actually really cool. Just real quick, I just want to talk about that. I think that in general is actually really good just to put in the story, because. Funny enough, Fairy Tail doesn't have a lot of examples of people attacking and failing against dragons. Like, we know stuff, like, obviously, Guild Arts failed with Acnologia. We saw stuff on Sirius Island and the Grand Magic Games. But just seeing, like, a group of unknown characters completely disconnected from the main cast, fighting a unnamed, unimportant dragon that's not some special dragon whose name hasn't been revealed, or he's somehow connected to something else. It just seems to be, and I'm not going to get mad at this dragon somehow it turns out special, but at least in terms of like this chapter, like the idea again of just dragon put in place that is so much more of a threat than they could clearly handle. I like that. It definitely builds a little bit of that tone, because we don't see any dragons until Acnologia really shows up in the series, and at that point, most of the dragons are pretty much already gone, so we don't see a lot of those displays of, like, when they hype up dragons. The first one we see is Acnologia, but it's like, it's kind of hard to really to gauge when you don't know where Acnologia sits, and then we find out later he's at the tip top, so again, he's the boss man of the dragons, so it's, again, difficult to really tell. Ooh, he's mentioned... Ooh, hang on. This is kind of cool. Hang on. There is... Oh, my God. I'm looking at this panel right now, and I'm trying to figure out if it is worth attention or not. So, Elissaria is talking about the 100 Years quest. There is a part with Irene that Irene is in the chapter, just very briefly behind Wendy, and she says something. But there's a point where Elissaria is talking about the dragon gods, and he is like, there's a part where he like motions at the scar in his chest. There's like a dragon quest on his guild like quest board. I'm guessing the 100 Years quest and the dragons and stuff were part of what destroyed his guild, because like if they had a big focus, like they had a main goal of like, hey, this is what, like, we have stuff going on, but guys, just so you know, in our guild, this is our main focus, and the main focus never gets done and it feels hopeless. I imagine that'd be very disheartening for a lot of people. But there's a point he's talking about it, and he brings up the people that have been on the quest before, and there's guild arts, and there's a couple silhouettes next to him, and there's the likely possibility these are just silhouettes, these are nobody, but I'm wondering if like any of these are going to be characters to later introduce. Like, one guy has a really cool looking staff, so I'm wondering if that staff has any value, like if there's going to be anything into that. It's like, oh yeah, well this is a powerful character, you know, they got a unique staff, whatever. There's like a thing behind him, I can't really tell what it is, but it's like, is that supposed to be a character? I'm guessing like he's just describing of like the passage of time over the last 100 years and the 100 Years quest. I just want to see if I just want to see one of Celine's kids. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm scrolling back real quick. I was trying to think of where, like, when I saw the dragon, he has these weird spikes, and I was trying to figure out where they're from. They look very similar to, like, his horns and the spikes on his wings. They look very similar to the spikes that were on Kieran's shoulders, like that outfit he's got. I'm guessing Celine, at least from it, and I'm going to interpret a little bit more as I can. Celine's got her hand on her stomach. I'm guessing maybe she's saying that she's two things. I'm gonna go two things on this. One is so it's either gonna be maybe she decided to stop when she had children, and like maybe she decided to kind of like live safer then. But there's also the questions like, people seem astonished, so I'm wondering if maybe is she saying she's pregnant, or like if she's saying that she wants to live as a human and have a human child. I feel like there's something there, because the whole mother thing with Celine is obviously important. You know, it gives her that, again, not human aspect, but it's that kinship that I feel like most people can understand, because obviously, like, despite being this multi-century trans-dimensional dragon who's destroyed countless worlds, like, when you get down, it's like she's still a woman and a mother. So it's like that mother instinct and the whole idea of her having one of her children killed is something that can strike pretty much into anyone's understanding, regardless of stuff again like species and standing. But Celine is just kind of conversing with them, and I'm guessing that she's got some plan for Elissaria. Ooh, there's a really cool part at the end where Suzaku's talking to her, and I'm guessing Suzaku... Ooh, hang on a second. No! Yes! Fuck yes! Okay, hang on. Suzaku's talking to her at the end of the chapter. I don't know what the context is. The context, we'll find it later. So at the very end of the chapter, and real quick, so it's closing out, Celine's talking to him, and she says something, it's some form of Celine wicked face, and we'll get to like more understandable translations and stuff later. But at the very end of the chapter, it's like they're all... Oh, this cat is like falling down. She got my lap and she's like backing out, but she's like resting on my feet and like about to fall off this fucking chair. They're like resting, and it's like it's like you can expect right after a bath. Suzaku looks normal; he's just dressed in his normal attire. Selena's got like her kimono on; she's got a fan and just enjoying the starry night. And they're having fun. Just they seem to be talking, chatting. And at the very end of the chapter, Selena says something. Selena's like talking to Suzaku. Suzaku's not sure what she's talking about. She gestures over to a corner where there's nothing there. Suzaku doesn't see it. Selene does. Selene is referring to Irene. So Selene can see Irene. She either can see her or she can sense her. But she knows that she's there. That's actually... Oh my god. I gotta see a dragon. As far as I know, it's not Selene's dragon child. But oh my god. That is one of the most favorable confirmations that I've had. 1 second. I'm putting that on Twitter real quick. One second there, fair folk. That is super interesting. That's one of the things I've wanted the most. Because their interactions and like where they stand in the series have been both super interesting. But on top of that, now it's just like, now it's not this speculation. It's just on point. They have some form of pre-existing connection, or Mishima's got something planned. And regardless of which one it's going to be, I am obviously stoked. Because that to me is one of the most interesting things. Because Selene obviously as a dragon god is very big, important, powerful. But Irene is one of the 3 most important people in the series, like in the lore. The 3 most important people in the lore are Zeref, Irene, and Acnologia. Because if you take them out of the story, pretty much the entire thing collapses. Selene, like someone like Selene or Ignia or Alderaan, they obviously are important when it comes to the large scale lore, but you take Selene out of the story, and it's going to affect, obviously, stuff going on right now, but it's not going to be as detrimental. It's like, you take Selene out, or Irene out of the story, bam, no Dragon Slayers. Dragon Slaying never happened. Natsu never gets it. Acnologia never happens. Diablos never happens. The 100 Years Quest never happens. Like, it's just, it's extra, obviously. And Irene and her being, like, now I just want to know, like, have they actually met? Have they heard of each other? I assume Irene's heard of Selene, maybe, but I would hope that Selene's at least, regardless, heard of Irene, because I could see Irene not knowing much about Selene, just because obviously Selene's been in other dimensions and is an ancient dragon, whereas Selene has shown a lot that she is a very knowledgeable person. So we're definitely gonna gone up a level, dude. Yeah, this was a hype chapter. This was a hype chapter. I really want to get to the context and the dialogue, because like there's so much neat stuff of just like Eleftheria starting the guild and building up. Also, I really like the idea of like the first guild being a bad guy, and it's like they essentially just, their guild fell apart, and that eventually is part of what helped drive this dude into being a crazy person. You think Selene would know that Irene had a kid at the time? It wouldn't surprise me. But, I mean, again, it's going to depend on, like, how much she knows. But that's something that I feel like would, again, also would be on the table for could know, could not know. Because Irene obviously, like, she withheld her pregnancy for 400 years. And on top of that, she didn't have Urza until she was in her human form in the Alvarez Empire. So this wasn't something that she just did and then maybe like her and Irene came across. Like maybe Selene figured it out earlier, like if she came across her and figured it out, but other than that, I don't think so. Horn of Salvation Ichigo versus Yobak pre-Soul King. The thing is, you can't really do anything with the Horn of Salvation Ichigo because we don't know what relatively it or his Bankai does. The only thing is just like, oh yeah, he's got Gran Rey Sero. The Gran Rey Sero gets because fucking I like hiccuped and tried to recover that mid word, and like my voice like slight cracked on that, but I didn't stop hiccuping at the same time. I'm like half hiccuped and it hurt a little bit. Fuck. Jacob's Lake Mersobian. That's not true. You get the chapter? It's off Manga Pope. Did you read the chapter? I got the Japanese one. I just got the raws. If you go to my my Discord, I'll put a link to it, and then I can put a link to the app later today. I'll have to go look for it, but I can get it. The chapters are like, I think they're like 80 cents. Man, I just pulled up Discord because I was getting the link, and I saw that there's a report for raids. That's stupid. I hate that. Let me see. Where's the Discord link again? I'm trying to invite people. That's dumb. You figured that Mishima killing zero character. We've been over this. And also, just as a side note, you can't count killing Elsie and Justice because they didn't die. Their lives are pretty much reset on Lindard. Yeah, just join the Discord, and then remind me later today. I'll look for it and send it in there. Because what time is it? 9. I don't gotta work for a few hours, but luckily as the daylight savings went back, so now the freaking chapters are now earlier, which is delightful. Okay, hang on. Let me pull up the chapter again and try and see if I can get any translations of any kind. We'll give an attempt. Again, my translations obviously are not very good, but they are better than reading nothing, I guess. They're better than blank nothing screens. Let me see if I can do anything with this. Where the fuck? Oh, I think the last part with Irene, she's just surprised that they can Slink can see her. I wonder if that's a dragon thing, or if maybe it's just because she's OP and she learned an ability for it. Anyway, let me just kind of get to some of these quick panels. I want to get some just fast translations really fast, and then I'm going to then I'll call it good. But let me see real fast. I want to know, like, is Slink talking about when she had her children, or is she like trying to say that she's pregnant or something? What does it say? I think she's like saying something about like her body being like permanently affected by Igni or something. I don't know. I'm gonna find out in a bit. But anyway, yeah, just join the Discord. I'll post links. It's real easy. Like I said, it's like 70 or 80 cents per chapter. It's nothing much. Let me see real fast. Okay, so the next chapter. The next chapter is supposed to be a really hype one. I'm very, very intrigued of whatever I guess Mishima has planned. But like Mishima can either be like a lore chapter, or I think it'll be a lore chapter, because if it's specifically Irene, I feel like Irene is gonna drop some like important stuff. Like Irene and Celine in conversation, I feel like has to have some form of like big thing up and coming. But anyway, other than that, I'll talk to you guys later, and we'll reconvene when we get the actual